Welcome back to another episode of the Block Runner Podcast. I'm your host, William, always here with your co-host, Iman.
What's going on, dude?
And on the sticks, we got TJ.
Hello.
All right, we're back at it again.
Got another one. It's been a week, dude. Fastest week ever.
Yes, but, important things are being done.
Yeah.
We're on our way to $1 billion company, dude, like we proclaimed ourselves to be last week in our first AI video. But
It might be the second.
Yeah, somebody
company.
beat us, dude. It only took a week.
Yeah.
We got wrecked pretty hard.
But he started in 2025.
I think even.
Or even before that.
18 months, they say. It took him 18 months to, I guess, achieve this status of solopreneur billionaire, which is not even what we're gunning for because there's 7 of us, but still. If there's 2 of them, because he hired his brother, which I think was a huge mistake. So he could have truly been all alone.
Yeah.
Like the true loner who made $1 billion. Which
did his brother really make that much of a difference?
2 is not 1, right?
It's not.
So in my mind, take off that crown, dude. Unjust.
Well, then what crown are we trying to go after then? The 7-person crown?
Yes. That's a good enough crown for me, dude. I'm okay splitting $1 billion 7 ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool with me.
I feel like that's a good bet.
That's a good day.
Yeah.
Or 18 months, whatever. So this guy had to split it in 2. So whatever people, but the internet has basically dubbed them the winners. Right.
Yeah, everyone seems to be talking about this. And I guess the question is why? Is it because the thesis is that you could do this? And now that there's proof that someone has done this, it's like, now what? What do you do?
Well, yeah, that's what I observed on once I started doing my deep diving on AI Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people claiming that they're weaponizing AI to do all these marvelous things.
Yeah.
But there was almost 0 actual demonstration of that other than people selling courses for AI.
Yeah.
Those are the only people I could really pinpoint as examples of economic opportunity, people seizing that.
Yeah, economic prosperity proof.
Yeah. As a result of
yeah, but that's always been the game. Anytime you learn something, the quickest way to make money from that learning is to teach someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, so but the point is there's been growing demand. Somebody show us how to actually build a business that's actually generating revenue.
Yeah.
Using these AI systems and tools. So it's all right, I agree with those expectations. So let's try and live it out ourselves and document the whole thing. Right?
Yeah, I feel like there's a false sense of understanding what these agents can do. And that false sense comes from if you're someone who doesn't really know stuff and understand things, you combine that that with an Opus 4.6 doesn't make you a genius.
No. And it's not even just not knowing stuff and understanding things.
So if you're an idiot.
Yeah, it's the nicest way to say that, basically. You sir,
don't know stuff.
And you don't understand things. It's so you're calling me a dumbass. In more words, yes. But there's other layers of requirement, too. There's you need
market understandings, awareness.
Patience to deal with these tools because a lot of people go in thinking it's a one-shot button.
Yeah, and it reads your mind.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, right? There's a lot of factors that go into this to really use this to your advantage, and it takes a lot of remolding of your. It can take a lot of remolding of your own brain if you don't already come equipped with these things, right?
Yeah.
So then, that's what I mean. There's a perception problem, kind of.
Yeah, there's an expectation problem too.
Yeah, because of the perception.
Yeah, and I think that expectation is really what ruins things for people.
Mm-hmm.
It's this great agent thing, and I can go and make $1 billion, right?
Yeah.
Well, not really.
It's a little harder than that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like that's why it's viable because we're also trying to figure it out ourselves. We have similar prosperous goals as this lad. We're not trying to mass distribute weight loss, syringes out here.
We are distributing substance, though.
Yeah, we're distributing something in mass, but I don't think it's going to make you lose weight anytime soon.
Not unless you spend all your money, then you're probably going to lose some weight.
Oh, God. Yeah, maybe. Or you create a collection around different GLPs. It's different GLP-1s injections. It's some of them will actually make you gain weight.
Yeah, GLP, DMT?
There you go. Yeah, like some of them have like a hidden syringe of like LSD. You just get like super high, but you won't know until you get the digital version of whatever it is this NFT distributed. Whatever. The point is, we have similar aspirations, and we're actually going to have to fully, I think, utilize AI for the construction of the product itself, right? Like AI didn't help produce this drug, I don't think.
Yeah, that's true. This drug has been around for quite some time.
Yeah.
And now it's being popularized, and it's because it's working, right? And so this guy took advantage of that, as one should. And he built, with AI, he built an engine to kind of market this drug.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about how it's on Facebook ads, all that stuff, and generate a ton of money.
Yeah, so good for him. I guess good for the AI sector space.
Good for his brother.
Very good for your brother, dude. He's just like, damn, bro, you're making a lot of money.
It's like, can you sling some over here or nah?
He's like, yeah, I guess you could run the Twitter account. It's like, all right, I'm in, dude.
Yeah.
And that's the story. But apparently this guy, like, he had a previous endeavor where he exited for like 300 million or something. Slinging watches. Like, it's kind of like, what's that business where you get like a new Dollar Shave Club, but for watches, basically. Like every month they send you like a new Rolex.
So it's like so you got to send the old one back?
I don't know. I hope so. But it's like a monthly subscription.
Wow, imagine that, dude.
You get to ref a new fucking, Rollie every month. That's kind of cool, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. If you're into that kind of stuff, I don't see why not.
Yeah, whatever. So that was his previous endeavor. So he kind of already had experience as far as like, using an already high in demand product and building like a marketing distribution system.
The bigger asterisk here is he is a developer.
That's true. I think people ask, like, and I think he said he didn't use AI to like build his app. Yeah, right there. I didn't vibe code it, but I used a lot of AI tools to make it happen. Matthew Gallagher, he's up there.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of like the AI space trying a little too hard to like,
find the diamond.
Yeah. He's like, hold on, guy. I actually didn't use AI to build my business at all. I just kind of use it to help with the marketing efforts, which makes more sense.
Yeah, yeah.
In our case, we're using AI a lot to build the product, right?
Yeah, I would say if you were to put a percentage, maybe like around 92 to 93%.
It's very specific.
Is AI generated or AI built.
Interesting. So what does that mean? Like, ultimately?
It means if this is successful, it means that
we probably couldn't have done it without AI, is what you're saying. Or we could have, but it would take in drastically longer.
Yeah, we're going to make a video that talks about that specifically. Is if we were to hire the right amount of developers to build this out, do it manually, how long would it take? How much would it cost?
That would be interesting to know. Probably more so, like, first the thing has to work. Right?
Yes.
So it's like launch is coming, by the way.
If we launch and like we generate zero revenue,
who cares?
Who cares?
We would actually be what the AI industry hates. Like they would bury our existence intentionally. It's like,
you know what? I would argue the AI industry is going to hate what we're doing anyways because it's crypto.
Oh, that would be the most interesting of like realities, right? Where like,
imagine we generate $1 billion. It's a crypto company, AI. It's like, oh, it's because it's crypto and they're scamming everybody, and that's why they generated $1 billion.
Yeah, or like you don't see this type of like reaction from the AI influencers. Yeah, it's like they would be like they for sure didn't use AI.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
The way they used AI.
Yeah,
it's like it's a crypto project. It's tainted.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
that's kind of the funsies of all
I
this,
feel
right?
like that's like an external thing. Like if you're looking at a sphere, the core of the thesis here is, can we bring NFTs back, and is it because of a problem that we're addressing specifically of how NFTs were launched? That's really the core question that we're trying to solve. Not whether or not AI can develop a $1 billion company. I think that's less interesting in my personal view than, did we form the right thesis? Did we form the right answer to the problem?
For sure. that is the core and the ethos, I think, behind everything NAT.fun and NAT related. But it's, there's also other cores. There's the, can the substrate of Bitcoin
Yeah, that's another thesis. Yeah.
be applied in something other than, a fundamentally valuable token like NAT, right? That's a minor subsidy token. It's like, does this have any other use case? So we're also...
Well, we have some answers to that. We have NatCats and the Royals and Heroes, and we have DMT Chaos. Like, there's some value there, but can it be brought to other chains?
Yeah, that's another
another
one,
core thesis.
Like, does Bitcoin have any export value, dude?
Yeah.
So all this, by the way, is on the NAT paper.
You know what? That's a good question. Export value. I would argue that there is an answer for that already, and it's in things like ETFs. It's in things like what Michael Saylor's doing with Stretch and all that.
Mm-hmm.
They are leveraging the asset of Bitcoin without even using Bitcoin itself.
Right.
Right. And so we're using Bitcoin's like blockchain without having to use Bitcoin itself.
Yeah.
So there's already evidence of export value.
Correct. Yeah. But this takes it to like a whole different dimension, I think.
Yeah, this is absolutely something different.
Yeah. But nonetheless, it's like a new add-on to the like economic equation that makes Bitcoin sustainable for the long term, which, another breakout occurrence that happened lately is like the whole quantum resistance, I guess, scare. Google put something out that's like, I don't know. They somehow proved that Bitcoin and all of crypto is at risk.
Yeah,
I think today, right? Like if they wanted to, they could.
That's what they suggest in their white paper, but I don't think that it's so much that they can do it today and they're just not doing it. I think it's that they've made enough progress, and when you analyze the rate of change in that progress, it suggests that we're going to they can hack Bitcoin's elliptic curve a lot sooner than we thought, and with a lot less qubits than we thought.
Yeah, they gave a date, right? 2029?
Yeah, 2029 is the deadline for Bitcoin to complete its upgrade.
What do you mean? Like, what do you mean by deadline? Or what do they mean by deadline?
Well, they suggest that by 2029, if you don't have this in place,
oh, I see. Yeah.
There could be a scenario where wallets get compromised relatively soon after, because if Google doesn't figure it out, Microsoft will, China will, somebody's going to figure this out.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily like them declaring. It's like, if you don't do it by then we're just going to take
No.
everyone's Bitcoin.
Not that. And really, I found it interesting that Google's focusing on the crypto industry. This is a worldwide thing, right? Every computer, every encryption, every government is leveraging encryption and public and private key cryptography to secure their networks.
Yeah.
That is the very thing that quantum computer breaks.
Right.
And so I just found it weird that they're just like focusing on crypto, maybe because it would just elicit a response, right? An emotional response, versus banks are going to, collapse because of quantum computing. I don't think anybody would be that hurt that industry goes away, other than the fact their money's there.
Well, there's also kind of like maybe they got the memo that like banks are already transitioning to crypto to become more like crypto native.
Yeah, maybe.
So it's like, if they're already aware of that transition happening in real time and like that inevitability, it's like financial rails will all be on chain anyways.
Yeah.
Within the next 3 years, probably.
Yeah.
That seems like a reasonable time trajectory, or at least like, I don't know, maybe not some percentage of institutional financial rails. They'll have their own chains and whatever. So it's like factoring all that in. It's like you crypto bros need to, reinforce that transition now, so that whenever all of finance is operating on top of your technology, we're all prepared for this.
Yeah, I'd like to know why the Bitcoin, developer community is taking so long on this.
Well, you're not alone. I think everybody's kind of like poking at that. Everybody has, I don't know.
Yeah, what is it? Are we arguing about which algorithms to implement? Maybe what's the question here? What are we debating internally?
Yeah, maybe it's just been like a debate around the urgency of it all, like, the legitimacy.
Yeah, but if quantum computing doesn't elicit urgency, what is eliciting what is taking activity, the mind share right now, that you could just put quantum computing into the back burner?
JPEGs,
Spam?
JPEGs, ordinals.
Yeah.
That's actually what's happening, right? That is what the current debate.
That's what it seems like. I don't know, man. I just find it hard to believe that we're spending so much time on the definition of spam and what qualifies as spam and what's a real Bitcoin transaction.
Yeah.
That conversation is more pressing than quantum computing. I just don't understand.
I think, yes, you and many others like that, like you, I think would agree. And this is a testament to why things like, the subsidy problem is just not currently even being addressed.
Yeah.
It's a representation of whatever that maintainer group is, like their disconnection from, like, I don't know, pertinent matters, and more so like veering towards ideology over like practicality, right? And maybe there's different reasons for that. It's just, I don't know, maybe the act of maintaining Bitcoin is just such a fragile thing, such a vulnerable thing. Maybe there's like a little bit of fear from their point of view. It's like, we just don't want to be regarded as the ones that fucking destroyed Bitcoin because we did something wrong.
Yeah.
So therefore, we're trying our best to minimize any type of activity. I don't know. That's a whole nexus of culture I have like no access to.
Yeah. I mean, quantum computing is such a sure bet. It's going to come, whether it comes tomorrow or it comes 10 years from now.
Yeah.
It's going to come. So we got to figure it out right now, because it could happen tomorrow.
Yeah. That would be crazy. So
there's another tweet here, Justin Drake. So he contributed to the article with Google. And let me bring up the article.
Yeah.
It says, safeguarding cryptocurrency by disclosing quantum vulnerabilities responsibly. And so we're exploring a new model for how to elucidate the code-breaking capabilities of future quantum computers and outlining steps that should be taken to mitigate their consequences. So it says, Google has led the responsible transition to post-quantum cryptography since 2016. In a new white paper, we show that future quantum computers may break the elliptic curve cryptography that protects cryptocurrency and other systems with fewer qubits and gates than previously realized. And I think that's the statement here, that projects, cryptocurrency projects, and other systems, which means the rest of the world and their infrastructure, can be broken with fewer qubits and gates than previously realized. So how much fewer? We're talking about millions of qubits to now, 500,000 or less?
Yeah, which means what again?
Which means that the integrity required to sustain an attack, to perform this attack, the integrity of a 500,000 qubit or less is easier to achieve than the integrity of maintaining something with multiple millions of qubits.
And the integrity device is that chandelier, right? Is that what you mean by integrity?
In certain ways, yes. So the chandelier is just a refrigerator. It cools it at levels, and it cools it to the very bottom level, which this whole thing is shielded, right? So it's like it's in a tube, it's vacuum sealed, all that stuff. And it's in this tube to protect it from random occurrences of like solar flares and like interference, all that stuff. And the reason why that's important is because if those qubits get disturbed, the calculation is compromised. And so it can't get disturbed.
Yeah.
So part of the disturbance is the atoms themselves. They contribute to the disturbance. And so that's why they need to cool it down. So if you have 1 million atoms, that disturbance probability is a lot higher than 500,000 or a few thousand.
I see.
Right. So now that you can achieve this attack with a few thousand, it's actually achievable and more likely that it occurs sooner than later.
Yeah. Well, I think we should trust Google on this one, dude. Because I've seen some responses out there that's like, oh,
yeah,
baloney. Is that what people say? People still say baloney?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially on the internet.
Yeah, whatever. It's like all bullshit, dude. It's like, really, it's 20 years out.
Yeah.
And I've done zero research to confirm that.
Man, people can just say things.
And these are like very important people. There's no, like we're talking top echelon of like the Bitcoin.
You're Adam back.
Okay. Yeah, it's Adam back.
Come on, Adam, dude.
Yeah, dude. Come on, dude. The same guy who banned us for, again, our community inquiring about the subsidy problem and pointing him to a solution. He's like, banned.
Yeah.
Banned all those guys.
Spam.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. To me, Adam has lost a lot of credibility. I feel like quantum computing is coming. If it's not now, it's later. And what difference does it make when you work on it? Like, if you don't work on it now, you might not have the time to do it later where everything's getting compromised. It just doesn't make any sense, dude.
Yeah. So I think this is a big, like a breakthrough moment, though, like watershed moment, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
So I think we will see some mobilization happening over the next year or so around this.
Yeah, I would
most
say
likely.
I would agree.
Yeah, not just for Bitcoin, for Ethereum as well, and other chains. So expect this to be probably like a main driver narrative. Maybe in the next market cycle, you'll probably see like whole new chains.
Yeah, I mean,
spinning up with
they're,
this.
they're going to say this. There's chains right now saying that they're quantum resistant. It's like, okay, congratulations, you guys are quantum resistant. That's like updating your software.
Yeah.
Right? You're running new software.
Correct.
Like eventually everyone is running quantum resistant algorithms. It's like now nobody is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when are they going to get to the subsidy thing, dude?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when does Google need to?
Well, Justin Drake, who contributed to this article here, he drops it. He drops it here in the end. He says, by the way, as a side note, as unofficial Bitcoin security researcher that I am, I still believe Bitcoin proof of work is cooked due to the dwindling security budget.
Damn.
And I mean, ultimately, I agree. I think Bitcoin is cooked because of the security budget. You cannot solve this problem. The way to solve it is Bitcoin exponentially grows in value. That's how you solve it. And even then, that's not even a solution because in 2140, you earn 0 Bitcoin per block other than the fees.
Right.
And let's imagine that in 2140, Bitcoin is worth 1,000 trillion.
Yeah.
Right? How do you protect a network with a few $1 billion? Or at best, $1 billion per year.
Yeah, likely wouldn't get to that valuation if that were the case, right?
Exactly.
That's what we've been saying. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, clearly we understand this, and anybody who holds NAT understands this. But the question is, how do you get the rest of the world? Like, what do you need? What is the watershed breakthrough moment? Like, similar to quantum, I guess you just need...
You just need $1 billion, dude.
Market cap?
That's right.
Okay. Well, that simplifies things quite significantly.
I would say so. It's an achievable milestone. So there's 2 milestones, I would say. There's 100 million milestone and 1 billion. Yeah, it's just a series of zeros. That's the difference between the 2 numbers. But really, psychologically, when you reach 100 million, that's when bigger influencers start talking about it. And once they start talking about it, that reaches a larger audience and therefore, gets it closer to 1 billion market cap. But at 1 billion market cap, this NAT token enters into the conversation as, is this thing a viable solution to the security budget issue?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's just an optics thing. You don't necessarily need... So you just need some semblance of like organic awareness, campaigning, whatever. The things that we've been up to. But there's a lot of, the macro tailwinds of Bitcoin's price action kind of like, influencing this realization. And then, more notable influential types kind of picking up on this. Maybe some of the noise around quantum and JPEG fear subsiding a bit so people get bored and they have like something new to talk about.
Yeah.
All these different little factors, right? And then eventually NAT's going to have its moment, I think. I think it's inevitable. Right?
It is. And it has to be because Bitcoin is not going to exponentially grow. And this problem is going to rear its ugly head and it's going to be obvious. And if it's not obvious now, I mean, there's evidence to suggest that the problem is manifesting right now in the fact that Bitcoin mining is losing against AI high-performance computing. Mm-hmm. And that is an attack on the network itself, right? Miners opting to not mine Bitcoin
means that the security of the network is declining for more revenues through high performance computing with AI.
So what do we do about it, dude? Because I got a little bit of a pushback this week, but because of, we're kind of getting closer to NAT.fun launch.
Yeah.
We're producing videos and we're, generating tweets. We're unveiling the platform. We're basically lifting up the skirt, right? So but some people are questioning the.
So I don't like what's under that skirt, guys.
Yeah, dude, please put it back down, dude. And yeah, I don't blame you. But if it were like an actual skirt lifting here, but it's not. It's like a metaphorical one. We generally strongly like the things that are under our skirt, and I think there's a lot of people in our community that do too, because they understand.
Yeah.
The connection between all these different moving parts, NAT itself, DMT as a protocol primitive, NAT.fun as like a front-end user experience that kind of, brings awareness and understanding to the value of all that, and then circulates all that energy back to NAT, which is directly attributed to solving this problem that most people are not aware of or actively trying to, suppress. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like that's the whole connecting wheel of things, but I felt like we tried our best to make it obvious. If you can go to the NAT paper, it's like near the end. We called it something called the network effect, right? Where this is kind of like what we're trying to build and represent and set precedent for with NAT.fun, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. You have a community that agrees with this whole paper, right? It outlines a security budget issue. It's just math. If you can do math, then you would agree. You would come to the same conclusion as we have. And like you're saying here with the network effect, it's if we can build an application, or the community can contribute building applications that go to ultimately buy the NAT token, it goes to support the Bitcoin miners, which support the security of the network of Bitcoin. And then we develop the first application for it. It's like, no, not that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Do something else.
Yeah, because it shares the .fun.
Yeah, so that's really the crux of this whole thing, is that because it's called NAT.fun, which everyone knows pump.fun, right? Pump.fun is like the killer of crypto. It's like it's the thing that killed all of crypto.
Yeah, that's some people's takes for sure.
and I get that. I understand. Like, memes are not that useful, right? They don't really do anything, right? So I get that sentiment. However, pump.fun did solve a big problem, hence generating $1 billion, right? So they solved the problem, and we were leveraging that solution to that problem and applying it to something else. That's all we did.
Pretty much.
So why do we call it NAT.fun? Is because of the style of the launch.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
Yeah. And it's one letter off from NFT, I guess. Felt like a good, like, subliminal.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons for that name too. So it's like it's a fun thing. It's NAT specifically. We could have said DMT or whatever, but we chose NAT. And it's because the whole purpose is you're launching tokens against Bitcoin, so you're sort of extracting value from the Bitcoin network, and by in doing so generating volume and therefore revenue. That revenue goes to purchase NAT itself. Therefore replenishing and returning value back to the Bitcoin network in ways that layer 2s do not.
Correct. Yes. So I guess now is ample time to kind of go into the playbooks here for our platform, because we've developed a couple of them, because there's creators that are going to be involved in this platform and collectors themselves, right? So once the platform launches, you'll be able to kind of look into this, use these as like your rubric a little bit, or maybe a Bible even, if you will, as to like understanding, what is the intended purpose of these markets? What are the new primitives that have been introduced through NAT.fun? Because to us who are, have been paying attention, a lot of this stuff is obvious to us, but for a new user, I mean, we're introducing a lot of foreign stuff. And I think that's obviously on purpose, right? Because all the previous iterations we've seen up until now are offering nothing new, right? They're introducing, they're replicating pump.fun.
Yeah.
And like
they're reskinning it.
Reskinning it, rebranding it, whatever, calling it, it's pump.fun, but for startups, or pump.fun, but for whatever, right?
Yeah.
There's hundreds of them now, and not a single one has attempted to iterate on like using these rails to come up with a new distribution model for NFTs, something that can actually, re-spark interest in this whole industry sector that used to be, one of the shining beacons of crypto.
Yeah.
And that is what we're attempting to do, right?
Yeah, and the whole foundation of that thesis is we believe that the NFTs, the way that were launched, contributed to the problem of why everyone thinks NFTs are just like a bad technology or something. Like no one should be building with NFTs. That's the sentiment right now. And there was a tweet that you found. I don't know if we have it here. Yeah, here it is. It says, market cap trading revenue over 24 hours, OpenSea $6,000, and everyone else is below that in a day.
Yeah. This is ultimate doomer porn for the NFT space, right?
Yeah.
And this is very recent. This is like within this week.
Yeah, so someone who doesn't really understand the problem, they look at this and be like, well, NFTs are done, right? Like there's no reason to build with NFTs anymore.
Yeah, I feel like that's what the industry seems to be deducing from this. Like Magic Eden, they've disappeared, like literally per their name. They pulled off their ultimate vanishing act. They're out of here, dude.
That's why they're called Magic Eden.
That was the magic all along, dude.
Yeah, the disappearing act.
It was. I'm impressed.
Yeah. Not only what's even more impressive is that they did their monthly like airdrop distribution or whatever. And did you see the number that they put up?
No, I didn't. Well, I heard reports from people like very unsatisfied.
Yeah.
But I didn't see like the full number. I'm assuming it's I don't know, comical?
Well, I'll let you try to figure out what's happening here. So I quote tweeted it, and what is this number? What is it?
At first glance, it looked like 32 million.
That's right. So
oh my god!
Oh shit!
It's not 32 million.
It's not. It's $32,000, 319.846.
What the fuck is that, dude? Is that pi? Are they reciting pi? in there?
0.12.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
They could have just kept going, dude.
So and they did it twice. They put it in the image,
Yeah.
and then they put it in the tweet.
Oh wait. Let me see.
So
Oh yeah, that's intentional for sure.
right. So
This isn't like an AI hallucination,
no.
unless it is. It's like their whole marketing team is just using AI and like, nobody's verifying.
Yeah.
That's one excuse. Or what's the other one?
The other one is they're trolling everybody.
Sheesh, that would be insane.
Why do this?
But why troll?
Well, weren't they paying for influencers to like hate on ordinals?
They did.
They're using that same energy.
Wow.
Like they know that the Magic Eden token is like useless. They know it.
Yeah.
And they're doing what they're legally required to do is fulfill the promises they said, and they're sticking the knife in and twisting it.
God.
People are getting $1 or less. They're like
Yeah, that's what
30 cents airdrop here.
It's like lol. It's like I'm so glad I staked for 4 years for my
30 cents.
Thanks, Magic Eden. Fucking very magical.
Yeah, so
I feel the magic, dude.
they're trolling everybody.
Could be. Yeah. I mean, you're right. It does align with the carpet bombing. Their exit, their Vietnam style exit from a couple months ago.
Yeah, they're like the humans in Avatar when they
Yes,
land
yes.
and when they leave, they just burn everything to hell.
Those are actual humans, dude.
Yeah.
It's not from Avatar. That's what we do for real. You know? Currently burning humans across the world, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you got to spread freedom, right?
That's one way to do it. That's the real American way, dude. But yeah, man, it's shocking. So what was the point of this again?
I mean, it's
NFTs are cooked. That's
Yeah.
the perception. The industry is like also relaying that.
Yeah, this is basically Magic Eden. It's like we sent that tweet out and everybody's just like laughing.
Magic Eden, OpenSea. They're like these fools. These fools. It's like, how, you know, Fools. I don't know what else do boomers say whenever they're drinking champagne and laughing in unison.
Yeah, this
Fools.
guy's like telling the joke. Is like, and they got their airdrop.
Isn't that George Bush Sr.? I think it is.
Is it?
I think it is.
I think it is,
Oh
dude.
boy.
Yeah. And there's Ronald Reagan there on the left, dude. Far left.
Huh.
Yeah. Dude, this is classic Americana stuff right here, dude.
Man, they look like they're having a good time though.
I'm sure they are, dude. It's like fucking Middle East oil. Those idiots over there think they're gonna keep that shit, dude. Fucking morons, dude. Are they not seeing our destroyers and our fucking aircraft carriers?
Yeah.
Idiots.
Fools.
Fools. Yeah, that's right. That's all we have to say. Fools. Over and over and over again.
Right.
So yeah, man. That's NFTs.
So yeah, so it's like, are NFTs, the technology, dead? Like we shouldn't do anything? I saw another tweet where I was like, I liked everything until you said NFTs.
Oh, you saw that?
Yeah.
Damn. That hurts too. It's like, what the fuck, man? Are you not supposed to try or what?
I guess not.
You just let things die? What happened to like, heroes? You know? I thought culture was like in alignment to like, people taking on hard challenges
Yeah.
for the sake of like,
Yeah, if someone's going to comment on what we're doing, I'd like to see comments on like the thesis and the solution.
yeah.
Like, well,
If not,
do you disagree that launching NFTs at a starting market cap of 20 million, you think that is a good idea?
no.
Right. It's like if you agree that's a bad idea, then how about launching NFTs starting at zero market cap? What could that do if it was systematized?
Yeah. And how about also incorporating viability stages, I guess, to the distribution of NFTs so that the market's not bombarded with a bunch of non-viable shittery, basically.
While at the same time funding the creator.
Yeah. So that the ones that do achieve viability, aka a blockout, they're distributing something of substantive value that the market, is signaling.
As deemed viable.
Yeah, therefore they're getting the resources needed to extend that value into like, a sustainable direction.
Yeah.
In other words, aka growth and like producing more value, which I think should be good. I think it will be more productive than what meme coins have done for the space, I think.
Yeah, I would say so.
I think it will attract a demographic of user that is more aligned to value creation.
Yeah.
Right? I think pump.fun is only attracting a demographic of user that's like, I don't know. They're literally just there for a pump and dump process.
I saw the average holding time of like a pump token. The average holding time is declining.
I think it's 58 seconds now.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Like 2 years ago, it was like 24 hours.
Yeah.
They went from 24 hours on average to 58 seconds within 2 years.
Why even like spend the mind share just to hold the token for 58 seconds on average?
Yeah, the trenches are cooked too, by the way. It's not just NFTs, it's meme coins. There's a lot. I mean, the napalm has run its course, dude. There's a lot of destruction about.
Yeah, and there was a DEX users that went from 30 million at its peak down to like 75.
75 what?
75.
75 what?
75.
75 people?
Yeah.
There's no fucking... No, you got memed, dude. There's no way there's only 75 people on a deck.
Yeah, I think it was the Helios guy. He's the one
but I think that was a joke, dude. Like,
yeah, maybe, but nonetheless,
okay,
it's around that number.
You gotta find that chart now.
Yeah, let me.
People are gonna think it's for real 75. Then it's like, dude, what are you actually doing, guys? Then I think it might be legit. Maybe we shouldn't try and Superman this market, dude. Let's just like let it die for real. If there's only 75 people
There's
left.
dozens of us remaining.
Yeah, you gotta let us fall off the cliff, dude. If that's the case, I'm thinking more in the realms of like 200,000 to 500,000.
Yeah, I'm sure the number's way higher.
Okay,
but
I mean, 200,000 to 500,000 souls. I think that's worth saving.
I would say so. That's a good market size.
Yeah, it's like if you're Spider-Man, right? You got a train that's like about to veer off the edge. Do you shoot your web or not?
Yeah, right.
What are you looking for?
The number of DEX users I'm looking for a specific chart. Yeah, I don't know if
Yeah, you're not gonna find it, dude. I'll just
It was the chart where it had like the huge spike and then a huge drop off.
here. Let me see if I can help you, dude. Let's see. Because I did post this chart. Let's see. Here it is. Damn, I found it fast, dude. It's coming. It's coming right to your desk. There it is.
That's quick.
Yeah. That's Tully, by the way, right? Yeah, it's Tully.
Oh yeah, down to 75. Yeah, so there's literally 100 of us here. Yeah, 30 million, and then now down to whatever this value is.
Hold on, zoom in though. Like, what's the scale? It goes from 0 to 10 million. So yeah, I mean, maybe we got 100,000, 50,000 of us left. I don't know. That's pretty dramatic though. Holy fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's the peak is around Trump coin. It looks like.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, early 2025. That's Trump coin, dude.
Yeah. 30. So all chain DEX volume, traders, number of traders. Yeah, so 30 million, that's a big number.
Yeah, man, Trump is quite the
The extractor.
I was gonna say more like the destroyer of things. He's pretty good at that.
Yeah,
And
Oppenheimer.
yeah, but he's like a willing Oppenheimer, dude. I think he
He
likes,
wanted to do it,
I
yeah.
think he's taking a lot of pleasure in like bombing things right now. It seems like it. He had a speech
Sending these dexes back to the Stone Age.
where they belong. Crypto losers belong at back to zero, dude. It's like I made crypto great, not you. And like I'm on to bigger and better things, you know.
Yeah,
Full on Middle East conquering.
yeah. Let me get that oil.
Whatever, dude. Let me get something over there. So yeah, I mean, so that's the picture. That's
the one.
yeah. I mean, that's the picture is what I mean. We got NFTs, 10,000 24-hour volume.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
We got
Just-
coin, like meme coin activity, just coin activity.
yeah, this is another thing that's really weird to me. It's like in crypto, when you see charts like this is the opportunity, right? This is it.
Yeah, like
It's
that's
not the opportunity isn't up here. I mean, obviously, number of traders. Yeah, you kind of want to exist when this is up, but if this were like a normal price chart, now's the opportunity. So then you go back and look at this token. It's like, what does this token do? Does this have viability in the future? If yes, you buy. You buy here, not up there.
totally. Yeah.
So if you're a creator, developer, you know, and you see a chart like this that represents NFT usage, and it's like there's nothing wrong with the NFT itself. It's like what is, if it's not the technology, what is the problem? Then you address the problem and then you launch your thing.
That's what we're doing, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's today? Saturday? By sometime next week, hopefully earlier in the week, you know, this experiment should begin.
Yeah, Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, this trial process will start, and we will probably not know definitively, but we'll have some new data
Yes.
that should give us a better picture as far as like, you know, are we actually onto something or not?
Yeah, so basically on the chart where OpenSea generated $6,000 in a day, we should be breaching that chart.
That would be interesting.
And that's another data point. It doesn't mean that we're right. It just means that we're right for right now.
Yeah, correct. So yeah, looking forward to that day. You know, anybody who, you know, if you're a NAT holder, this is also very relevant to you. Again,
Oh, yeah.
because
Tying it back.
yeah, because you know it is its own independent application that's, you know, sourcing DMT as its substrate. It's primitive, if you will, to create this new refactoring of asset manifestation,
Mm-hmm.
and then using the rails that are, you know, that what pump.fun is known for to
Yeah.
create a much more like a, you know, what we think is a market viable distribution approach, right? So that is what we're putting up for test
Yeah.
this week. But the successful outcome of all that, if we end up being right, is, you know, the mass awareness of DMT and non-arbitrary tokens, which for the NAT token itself, being the fact that it is like the originator, it's the first of its kind.
Yeah.
This is tremendously important when you understand like how human beings interpret value traditionally,
Yeah.
right? Anytime, you know, think of crypto punks, they're widely regarded as like the origin NFT collection.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So like,
And they
space event-
existed.
yeah.
They existed for like 2 years before it actually got traction.
How long has NAT been around? About 2 years.
That's right.
Has it been 2 years?
November 2023.
More than 2 years.
More than 2 years.
Let's call it 2 years, just to like fit perfectly with that.
Yeah. We're just like CryptoPunks.
Just like CryptoPunks. But what did it take for CryptoPunks to reach like astronomical heights? You know, chart like that.
Yeah.
NFTs had to become like ubiquitous, and they
That's
did.
right.
And
That's
then,
right.
so Nat, in Nat's case, if you hold it, you're more philosophically aligned with the principles of like something of some token device is more fundamental, and it like addresses a core issue, and it's a problem solution token, right?
Yeah.
We're right there with you. We love that stuff too. That is the shit that brought us into crypto in the first place.
Yeah.
In 2017, right? We're like, damn, this is an industry cooking, dude. Like, they're gonna change Earth.
Yep.
They're gonna decentralize everything, and then fast forward, that's not happening anymore.
Yeah. A few jail sentences.
Whatever, dude. You know, but still, there is another like it's a pretty big market now, and it fits many different like
Yeah. So
philosophical interpretations of like what crypto is useful for.
yeah.
right?
So what you're saying is that anyone holding the NAT token should be supportive of anyone building an application that supports NAT.
I think so, or is utilizing DMT,
Yeah.
because again, it's cementing the value proposition of Bitcoin as a substrate layer.
Yeah. Bitcoin is kind of important, right? If it fails, the industry has failed.
Yes.
And so if there's creators and developers out there who are leveraging and supporting, like the NAT token is the only token in existence that supports Bitcoin. The only one. Everything else detracts from Bitcoin. And so an application that goes to purchase the NAT token to return value back to the miners to support Bitcoin, it should be supported.
Yeah. So all that means is, you know,
Rally.
try your best not to FUD us on the timeline whenever we're posting about NAT.fun. That doesn't mean we're like abandoning NAT in any way, shape, or form. If you understand the thesis and again the flywheel connection between it all, NAT.fun is something to be celebrated. And you know, it's a very accessible platform that anybody can kind of iterate themselves on. And who knows, you might discover some new creative unlock like I have, like, you know, by interacting and interfacing with AI, because that's going to be a big component to this app.
Yeah,
Right.
I sent you. So Blunty sent us a link. You know, this individual created, and it was a pretty awesome application. Did you click through it?
I didn't click all the way through it, but
Well,
yeah.
I don't want to show it because it's like, you know, but
But I know Blunty makes like
some bangers.
bangers. Yeah, so I already know it's good without even fully scoping it out.
So they
yet.
developed an application that showcases Royal stuff, and like it's great. And so, you know, creators like that need to have places to get support from.
Yeah, so that they can keep building more great stuff.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's a good foundation for like a market.
Yeah. Yeah, all this stuff sounds reasonable to us, but we might be the actual crazy ones. The people out there who are the armchair quarterbacks, they're not the crazy ones. Right? So they might be right.
Could be. Yeah. I guess we'll find out, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, TJ, what's the time there?
About 10 minutes.
Okay. Okay, so let's look into what I have here. Oh, the playbook. All right, so the playbook here is there's two sides. There's the creator playbook and the collector playbook. The creator playbook is significantly longer than the collector playbook, but they should probably be equally as long because there's a lot of things that need to be understood on both sides as to like what is happening here. And there's different expectations. Like I said, NFT enjoyers, NFT launchers, they have like a specific expectation about how things work. And NAT.fun throws all of it out the door. And so there's like a whole new infrastructure, a whole new mechanism, and therefore new expectations and new ways to really adjust yourselves to this new like system, right? So we go through that in these playbooks. And when this thing is live, you'll be able to read through it. But I wanted to highlight a couple of things here. And let's see. The most important one here, I think, is what your creator economy looks like. Simulated earnings across both token trading and NFT secondary volumes.
based on the updated fee structure. So we have token market, and this is simulated. And so the DEX volume over 30 days, DEX volume over 90 days, and the creator earnings in both those days. So if you launch a token and in 30 days it does $500,000 in total volume, well, in that month you've generated roughly $8,000, right? And if it's something like 1.5 million, you've generated almost $24,000. And so this is kind of like the new system that you should be sort of expecting here. So what is the probability of generating 500,000 or 1.5 million in volume? Is that a high expectation or is that a low expectation? Well, on a good day, you're probably seeing, 2 to 3 times as much as this on a good day, or a good month, I should say. And so these figures are about on average to, relatively successful tokens that launch on these like creator capital markets ecosystems.
Yeah, so that obviously varies and is dynamic based on, what is the current state of the market, and considering, we just saw the chart, right? We're in the low tranche of like market participation. So the revenue figures will be much smaller than I'm sure what most people are like idealizing in their own head. But that's kind of like the point, right? You kind of want to start off, build your brand, your reputation over time, because we're going to implement a lot of new features that take leverage of this creator reputation layer, which there's different components to that. There's a fame system in the platform itself, which, gives the users the power to allocate fame to different creators. Therefore, it's signaling value and trust and reputation, all the good things that, you want as a creator, right? So that gives you time to build that up.
Yeah, and the style of earning here is different than what we saw in 2021, where this is consistent. I would say this is revenue based on volume, and therefore, if you continue creating content in the social sphere, you're creating more attention and therefore potential volume and therefore revenue. And so this is very consistent with the attention economy that we're seeing develop here. And so now you're just become a participant. The structure is more aligned with the ecosystem that exists.
Yeah, like somebody like Blunty is a perfect example who has like mastered the ability to create AI videos. It's a good idea to launch a collection and a token for some sort of IP that you want to kind of proliferate out there, right? Whether it's the Royals today or something completely new and original to you, Blunty, and then iterate on that by making as many banger AI videos as you can, posting them on TikTok, YouTube, whatever, generate a follower base from that.
Yeah.
And then guess what? There's a collection like associated to that now viral brand that's producing really cool AI content, right? And
right.
What does that do to the value of that collectible? It goes up.
That's right.
Therefore, it's like a self-reinforcing flywheel loop for the token itself as well. And then all that means is more creator revenue for Blunty.
That's right.
And others like Blunty, right? So that is the ecosystem we're trying to foster here, is like people who understand that as the opportunity, like how do I weaponize AI today and not be totally turned off by the idea of crypto, adding some sort of value to AI.
Yeah.
And use that to my advantage before the AI bros give crypto a chance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And broader society, right? Because something needs to clean the palette a bit. Something where you need a cleansing for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and in addition, so we're talking about revenue numbers here, and then the launch modes. There's a simple and advanced. The simple one basically chooses an element for you. So typically, I think on average, NFT creators are sort of used to the 10K NFT project. And in this case, because these are non-arbitrary values, it's not a perfect 10K, and it's not a perfect 3 billion, right? So it's a ballpark of these values, but that's not the point. The point is that you pick the simple mode, and it chooses these values for you so that you can focus on the art. So someone choosing the advanced mode, they really care about the particular element that they choose, the rate of occurrence that happens on Bitcoin. And then they're probably more particular about when these traits occur based on Bitcoin block patterns. And so now you can get really advanced here and choose not only the supply that you want, the rate of occurrence that you want, but also the ability to
figure out what the traits and how they map to the patterns on Bitcoin themselves. So this is someone who basically really understands DMT and takes advantage of it. And so yeah, we have the simple and advanced.
Nice animation, dude.
Yeah, I had to click on it.
Confetti. Was that confetti or sparks?
Sparkles.
Even better, dude. Sparkling blocks, dude. That's what I like to see. Oh yeah.
All right, so
Sparkles.
So yeah, let's talk about this. Solana CNFTs, this is compressed NFTs, and then Bitcoin ordinal tap inscriptions. So every single fungible token is a Solana token, and the reason for that is because Meteor has built the rails to facilitate bonding curves and transitioning to DEX environments, right? That is already built. That is why this is on Solana. And so, but the NFTs, they can be on Solana or on Bitcoin. And so ordinals, very specific to how that is done. It's tap inscriptions. And so it's very similar to what we experienced with the ordinal ecosystem in DMT back in the day. It's just being brought into a system where, if viable, it's launched, right? If it graduates, these ordinals are launched.
So this is good for signaling the value of ordinals, right? Which is also another sector of crypto that's suffering from a napalm attack.
Yeah, thank you, Magic Eden.
Thank you, everybody. It's been a rough couple of years, dude. But yeah, like, this is good. That means if this works and the market agrees, you're going to see a reinvigoration of inscription activity, which I think is a net positive, right? Because like now we're double contributing, right? Not just the value of NAT to miner subsidies, but then fees will go up on Bitcoin.
Yes.
Therefore, we're helping on two ends here.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then ultimately, at the very end of this is, why is this called NAT.fun, and how does it relate to the NAT token? So like I said, when creators launch on NAT.fun, they're launching against patterns on Bitcoin. And so you could look at it as you're taking something from Bitcoin, and us buying the NAT token is returning value back to the Bitcoin ecosystem, because Bitcoin has a real problem in the same way it has a quantum problem. It's the security budget. It's on the decline. This really means that Bitcoin's value proposition is under threat, right? And it's under threat by the design of Bitcoin itself. And so the way you mitigate that is return value back to the miners, increase their revenue, security increases, and that's the purpose of the NAT token. All right, so that's the creator side. The collector side is basically the same thing, but it's how you interpret what is being generated from the platform. And so again, as a collector, you are purchasing on the bonding curve. And let's say you buy 1% on the bonding curve, you're also getting 1% of the blocks. And so a creator says, I want to use all the blocks on Bitcoin. That's like 950,000 blocks. So if you buy 1% of that, you're looking at, 90,000 blocks that you own.
Jeez.
And so,
wait.
Oh, yeah, say 9,000 blocks, I should say.
Okay.
So 9,000 blocks, that's 9,000 NFTs.
That's a massive inventory.
Yeah, that's huge, right? And so if it graduates, then that means you have 9,000 NFTs to potentially put on the market, and have the community decide what the market price of these NFTs are. And so these things start at zero.
Yeah. So all that is going to be very interesting. The experience itself is something that your average typical Launchpad user hasn't dealt with before. The act of claiming Bitcoin blocks is brand new.
Yeah.
The act of, again, participating on a bonding curve system and receiving 2 assets instead of 1 is new.
Yeah.
And then, therefore getting exposure and access to, determining market value and therefore receiving double upside benefits to the value of those assets. Like, it's something new.
Yeah.
And
Why spend any time on a platform where you only get 1 asset?
Right. This is why we predict. If Sam Altman's putting out a prediction, I don't know. Fuck it, dude. Let me do one.
Let's do it. Let's hear it.
I think it's inevitable through NAT.fun. At some point, pump.fun is going to flip on the NFT switch too.
Yeah.
At some point. Because they're going to realize, and the whole market will too, is like, we shouldn't have forgotten about NFTs this whole time. It's like, they actually do make a lot of sense to incorporate in launching, and a launch ecosystem in general, right? It's like, So thanks, NAT.fun, for proving that. I don't know. You guys somehow pinged our radar because you generated enough volume, whatever. We're going to do it too. We're also going to look into these CNFT docs or whatever.
Yeah.
And flip on the switch.
Yeah, if that happens, that means we were right.
That means we were right. And to me, that's like the most bullish catalyst for
100%.
NAT.fun, for DMT, for NAT, all this stuff, right? Because I mean, pump.fun's the biggest actor in like the consumer app-facing space of crypto.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, we've basically built a whole new market from the ground up, not just for the whole space, the whole industry, right? And it's like one thing they can't take, if there is like a moat that just can't be switched on, it's DMT.
That's right.
It's the non-arbitrary token aspect that they can't easily just switch on. Right?
They can't. And I would imagine that there's going to be a flurry of platforms that mimic this before Pump comes in. And so that's going to confirm our thesis as well.
Yeah. And that'll be certainty that we knew that, we accomplished our goal at least. It's like, this stuff becomes as viral as ordinal inscriptions did in 2023. It's like
NFTs are back.
Yeah. And that's it. It's like, damn, dude. See, I told you we should have saved the carpet bombed.
Yeah.
We don't just leave them there, dude.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to try.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the opportunity, right? That's the whole point of this.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's see what else.
I think we're good, dude.
Yeah, I think that's it.
You guys could read the rest. I love our little unicorn there. This is just a section explaining.
Can you spot the unicorn?
Yeah, that's
ultimately the game here, right?
Yeah, like which of these launch projects are gonna
did you know
change the earth?
Fart coin would turn into $1 billion token?
No, it would be hard to predict that one for sure.
Yeah.
But that was the unicorn of Pump.
That's right.
So what's going to be the NAT.fun unicorn? Can't wait to find that out, right?
Yeah. All right. So stay tuned. Monday or Tuesday is going to be the launch date. We're still testing things, and this will be live for you to read Monday or Tuesday, give or take. And I guess if you guys are watching this on Saturday, if you have any questions, hit us up on Discord or Twitter, DMs, or anything. And if you're a creator looking to launch your NFT project, hit us up. It's basically completely free. Someone was asking me, hey, I have an ordinal inscription. Should I upload my script to Bitcoin? It's about $55. And I was like, no, just upload it to the platform. If it's viable, we'll upload it for you, and we'll pay for it.
Wow. What if it's like $500 because the fees are up?
Then we'll pay $500.
Wow. What the fuck, dude? That's very shammy. Very sham wow, dude. I like it. Sham wow.
Yeah.
All right, I'm down, dude. Well, I'm looking forward to that. So Bitcoin, Solana, doesn't matter what camp you're on, give it a shot.
Yeah.
I for some reason I have an expectation. It'll probably be more Bitcoiners at first.
Yeah, maybe.
Ordinals, but I don't know. It's totally, we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to be a total mind fuck. I think.
And I think on Monday we're going to try to use a vibe editor to develop a collection in real time.
That's true. Yeah, so if you want to know how to play, look out for that video.
Yeah.
We'll give you a tutorial.
All right, guys, that's it for us. I appreciate you for watching, and we will catch you in the next podcast.
Peace.